Hi, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hey, how you doing? My name is Ash. I am a makeup artist and a book lover, and today's video is going to be my reading wrap up for April and my potential TBR for May. So typically when I do this video, I do a makeup tutorial with it, but since I didn't read as much as I hoped for in April, I decided to just not do that. So I'm just going to talk about the books that I read, give you my overall thoughts on them, and then I will jump into what I hope to read in May. So the first book I read was Love and Other Flight Delays by Denise Williams. This is actually 3 novellas in one book. They're all under 200 pages each, and this all takes place in an airport. But overall, I enjoyed this, and I ended up giving each individual book a 4-star rating, so overall this entire little novella set is 4 stars for me. And I think my favorite would probably be The Love Connection, but yeah, solid read. And I read this like right at the beginning of the month before everything went downhill. And the next book I read is from Tessa. This is Fangirl Down. I picked this up, I think, in March when it released, and I read it right at the time of the Masters. I finished this, I think, on the last day of the Masters, and this is a golf sports romance. So you have Wells Whitaker, who is like a down and out golfer who basically is on the verge of giving up his entire career, and you have Josephine Doyle, who has been his like longtime fan. He's noticed her at the, what do you call it, like golf matches, whatever. I'm not a golf person, but he's noticed her in the crowds, so he has an idea of who she is, but doesn't really know her as a person. This takes place after one of the tournaments, and he basically has, his career is just tanking really bad, but she won a little thing where she was gonna get like a lunch with him and a golf lesson, I believe, and he basically walks off the course and is like, I'm done with everything, and he very rudely rips her sign that she's carried to like all of his matches. Very rude. You know, obviously the lunch never happens, but then lo and behold, it's in Florida, so like a hurricane hits, and it hit right where he knew that she was around the area, and he was like, I'm feeling a little guilty, I'm gonna go find her. She's down and out of her luck also. She's made some bad financial choices when it came to her parents' golf shop and her health, but they end up striking a deal. She's gonna caddy for him, he's gonna try to make it to the Masters, and all while fighting their feelings for each other because he is hot AF and she is hot AF, and hotness together. It is a little spicy, there is some sexual tension. I really enjoyed it. There wasn't as much golf in it as I thought there would be, like golf wording and like everything, so I was pretty happy with that because I am just not a fan of golf. I find watching it so boring. I thought it was really cute, and the way that Wells ends up taking care of Josephine because she has type 1 diabetes, and what he does to like help her. It's like, just don't settle for the bare minimum. Be with a guy who will do it because he wants to do it. There is going to be a second book, The Au Pair Affair, which is going to be a hockey book with 2 characters that you meet in here. But overall, I really enjoyed this book, and I gave this one a 4.5-star rating. I am slowly becoming a huge fan of Tessa Bailey, which is a good thing because I have most of her books, apparently. Going to back it up a bit, this is A Flicker in the Dark by Stacy Willingham. I gave this a 4-star rating. This is a thriller book, and this took me the longest time to get through solely because I figured out the twist. I have this problem with thriller books where I try to figure out the twist as I'm reading it instead of just enjoying the book, and then I flipped to the last page and it confirmed what I thought, so it was kind of ruined, so I put off reading this for like a week just to kind of get it out of my head. But this book follows Chloe Davis, who is from Louisiana. She went to college and then moved to Baton Rouge after high school. She had a rough life because when she was younger, her dad was arrested for the disappearances of, I believe, 6 girls in their small town, and that's kind of stayed with her and haunted her. And she's now a psychiatrist, and she lives in a big city. She's engaged to her fiance Daniel, and she's just chugging on with life. She has a brother Cooper who is basically like an overprotective brother, but to be honest, she got a bad vibe from him a little bit. You get a bad vibe from Daniel. You get a bad vibe from all the men in this book, basically. Anyways, she's in Baton Rouge. It's coming up on the 20-year anniversary of her father's arrest and basically the closing of the missing girls cases. Their bodies were never found. And she's getting a little paranoid because a girl in Baton Rouge goes missing and they have a slight connection to her. And then the second girl goes missing and it was one of her patients. And then another girl goes missing. So this book follows Chloe Davis and how she is kind of trying to unravel what's happening, but she's also fearful of that it might be Daniel, her fiance. She's worried that it might be a copycat of her father, but I do think that it was a good, solid read. Like I said, I gave it 4 stars. I would be interested in reading more from this author. I just wish that the twist wasn't as like predictable, but I honestly don't know if it is predictable in the general sense, because like I said, I can kind of pretty much predict pretty much any thriller, and I blame that on Criminal Minds. I watch that religiously. I did read a couple books on my Kindle, but I'm going to talk about those after I finish up my physical books. And I have 3 small books to talk about. So the first one is My Killer Vacation by Tessa Bailey. This is like a short-ish book. It's under 300 pages. This is a bounty hunter and a school teacher in like Cape Cod, and it's a grumpy sunshine, a little bit of an age gap. So you have Taylor and her brother Jude who decide to go on a vacation together. And when they get to their vacation home, everything seems fine until she's in the bedroom and she sees holes drilled in the wall that look eerily like where somebody could look through. So that freaks her out. She calls for her brother Jude. He comes in and is like, that's sus. And they end up leaving the bedroom and they're kind of looking around the house, and they get to the laundry room and it's like, huh, there's a dead body in there. Being the sensible people that they are, they call the police, and it turns out that the dead person is the owner of the rental, so they gotta figure out what's going on with that. And then you get Miles, who is a bounty hunter. He was a former police officer. He turned in his badge. There's a whole ordeal about that, but he basically gets entangled with Taylor because she is a little bit nosy and wants to figure out what exactly happened by helping the big bad bounty hunter. The sexual tension is there. The banter is great. I really enjoy this. I gave this 4 stars, and I will say a little bit predictable, but she's not known for writing mysteries. She is, you know, a romance author. So you're really reading this for the romance and the hot characters and the hot men, and not so much the mystery. And then I read 2 books from my childhood. These were mainly because I wanted to read a book without too much effort. A classic is Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark by Alvin Schwartz. They did make this into a movie, and I really did like the movie, but reading this book back, I just don't remember it being not this scary. It was way more scarier when I was a kid. So I have read this before, and I've read the Scarier Stories, whatever version. There's several versions of this and more anthologies of books, but I don't know. I remember being more scared with it as a kid, though I do have a very vivid memory of me reading this book for the first time, and I'm turning to this page and this lady scaring me so bad that I put the book down. And I was very young at the time when I read this. I mean, it's cute for what it is. Obviously, if you're younger than 13, you're gonna find it a little bit scary, maybe a little off-putting. The obviously illustrations in here can be a little bit creepy, but I liked it. I ended up giving it a 3-star, but if I was a child again, I would probably rate it, higher. And then the last physical book I read was Messenger by Lois Lowry. Tell me why it took me most of this book to realize that this is all tied to The Giver. I read both The Giver and Gathering Blue when I was super young. I lost my copy of The Giver, so I ended up going to the bookstore and picking up a new one. Why did I not realize that this was all connected? And there's a 4th book. Like, why wasn't this like making a connection in my head? I do not know. But this one follows Maddie, who lives in a village. He ends up living with Seer, who is a blind man, and Seer is the father of Kira. Is it Kira? Something like that. In Gathering Blue. And Village is run by Leader, who is Jonas from The Giver. Mind blown. Anyway, Maddie lives in the village, and the people in Village were all they're supposed to be welcoming to all outsiders. Like, nobody is shamed here. Nobody is, killed for being different. But they all make a home there, and it's peaceful until the people start saying that they don't want any more outsiders to come in, and there's talks about them closing down the village, and there's just a darkness in the village. Maddie, being the inquisitive child that he is, he's like, I'm guessing like 13-ish. Doesn't really say an age, so I'm just ball guessing. Maddie is a messenger. He's the one that can travel through the forest. Apparently not everybody can travel through the forest because it will kill you or give you a warning saying you can't travel it. Very strange world. He's hoping to one day earn the name of messenger because apparently when you get old enough you lose like your identity of your name and you become just what you are. Strange world. With everything going on, there's some stuff with like the trading and how that's all like a little sketchy. He has one last sort of like mission to go and fetch Kira to bring her back to the village because she said that she was gonna move when the time was right to move in with her father. So he's the only one that can go and bring her back. She has a crippled leg, so the walk through the forest is a little off. And Maddie has like a secret that you find out in the book. I like the idea of it, okay? I have to keep in mind that this is a children's book. And why is it a children's book? Because this is like, it's a sad ending. That's just a sad, messed up ending. I give it 4 stars. Honestly, it could probably be like a 3.5 or a 3. I really do like The Giver and Gathering Blue. Those were some of my most read books growing up, and I just never knew this existed. And I have not seen the movie The Giver because I just didn't like the idea of it being a motion picture. So I'm going to quickly talk about the books I read on my Kindle. First one I want to talk about is Without You by Alesha Dykema. I got this as an ARC to read before the book release, which just released on April 25th. It was by far my favorite book that Alesha has done. And this story is a thriller. There's suspense. There is like just the unknown happening, and like you always have the question is like, what happened? And it takes a while for you to understand what happened to like then unravel everything that is happening. So this follows Scarlett, who ran away from her husband Evan 7 years ago, and she's been hiding from him ever since. They met when they were super young. They went to the same like troubled home for troubled kids. Scarlett ends up moving to a small town in southern Illinois where she creates her new identity, new life. She ends up starting to date a man called Dan. They are together for pretty much her entire time that she's in that town. And the book starts on Scarlett's birthday, and on her doorstep is a red box. And unfortunately for her, that red box signifies that he has found her. So this whole book takes place basically over like the course of 4 days, it feels like. And it's very fast paced. It's a quick read. I gave this 5 stars. Alesha says that her characters, you get like Mr. and Mrs. Smith vibes. I personally get more like Joker and Harley Quinn vibes because like their relationship is just messed up. I understand that she fell in love with Evan and everything that they went through together, but like Alesha is really good at writing a strong female character that are just slightly messed up, and this one is no exceptions. I thought that this was really great. I could see twist coming, but I didn't predict the ending, which is what gave this completely 5 stars for me, because if I can't guess it and I don't get it right, then it's a great book. But I'm very, very happy with this book, and I can't wait to see what she puts out next. And then let's talk about the 2 other books that I read, which I'm going to talk about them in conjunction because they are a series. And the series is Monsterly Yours by S.J. Sanders. I read the 2nd and 3rd book in the series because I read the first one back in February. So the second book in the series is The Troll Bride. This is with Kavik and Kate. I may butcher some of these names in this series because it's that type of series. But Kavik is a troll and Kate is a human, and apparently they are like fated mates in like troll world. And you actually meet Kavik and Kate in the first book. Kavik actually helps bring Sammy home in the first book, and that's where he meets Kate, who is Sammy's best friend. Kate is a single mother who has a very darling little daughter, and father's not in the picture, he's in jail, and she ends up having basically a one-night stand with Kavik, and he has to end up going back pretty much like the next day with all the orcs. Are they orcs or ogres? Orcs. Whatever. He ends up going back home, and he promises Kate that he'll be back for her. She's not aware that they are mates, and he basically almost like ghosts her in a way. At least that's how she feels, because she finds out you know, a couple months later, after hearing nothing from him, no response to her letters, that she is pregnant with the troll baby. So she sends him one last letter just telling him about the baby, and she doesn't hear back from him. So it's like, well, whatever. And before you know it, a year has passed and he's back for her, and he basically drags her back to the troll kingdom where they can raise their baby troll boy, and stuff happens. I actually really enjoyed like the storyline of it, because it's not just monster smut, there's like an actual storyline to it, so I like that. I gave that one 4 stars, and then I gave the next book 4 stars also. This is The Accidental Werewolf's Mate, and this is between, I might say this wrong, Arwal, A-R-W-A-L, and Anna. Arwal is a werewolf that you meet in the second book, and Anna is a witch who her first introduction is this book here. So they are fated mates, but they don't realize that they are. Witches don't really have that sort of connection. Werewolves do. And the weird thing about this is, like, he's not in human form. Like, I'm trying to, like, the way that he's described and like the werewolves are described, I'm trying to like picture it in my head, and all I can think about is just like manly arms, manly torso, dog head. They make it work. They make it work. So basically, he doesn't want a mate and she doesn't want a person who doesn't want her. So in this story, they want to sort of break their bond. So they agree to go to his realm and then go north of his territory to try to find a wizard who could potentially like break their bond. But then like stuff happens and they get closer together, and then they realize, hey, maybe I don't want to break this bond with my puppy. I can't take it seriously just like picturing it, but you know, it was a fun read. At the end there is a labyrinth, and those are always fun. I like reading about labyrinths and, you know, different authors' takes on what's all in it. I really enjoyed that one, and even though I didn't read a lot, I did have a lot of enjoyable reads, so I'm happy with that. Now I'm going to quickly just talk about the books that I'm going to read in May. I pulled out 10 physical books, and I have one on my Kindle that I want to read, which I'm probably going to start tonight, just to get a head start on that. So that book is going to be Namaste in Code All Day by Ali Williams. This is an ARC book that I got from the author. I believe that this book actually is released on May 5th, so I'm excited to read this. So I have 2 books that I actually started in April that I just didn't get around to finishing, and it's not because like the stories are interesting, I just wasn't that interested in reading them at the time. So the first one I started reading was Powerless by Lorna Roberts. I got only to chapter 8 and stopped, and like the premise of this is really interesting. Think like Hunger Games ish, like that's the vibe you get, but there's just something about it. I picked it up, I read like 1 chapter and just put it down. It hasn't like grabbed me, but I really like the idea of it. And then this one is Half Sick of Shadows by Laura Sebastian. I got only to chapter 6 on this one. This is basically like a retelling of Camelot with, you know, King Arthur and Merlin and Lancelot, Guinevere, Morgana, and this follows Elaine of Shalott, who is cursed to see the future, and this is all in her point of view. So hopefully, since I started these, I can finish these, but we'll see what happens. And then for the rest, I just have a little bit of a mix. I grabbed this one. This is Where the Red Fern Grows by Wilson Rawls. This is a book that I should have read when I was in school, and I have not. So I honestly don't know anything about this. I know it's going to be like a more younger child's read, but whatever. It's one of the books that you're supposed to read, apparently. And this is a book that I just picked up in my last book haul. This is You Look Better as a Ghost by Joanna Wallace. This just sounded so interesting, and I'm so happy that I drew this one to read. So basically what I did, which I guess I should have mentioned, I drew 50 books that I need to finish to hit 100 books read for my reading goal. And the books that I picked for this month are books just from those 50, so I gotta read those. And that one included Go Ask Alice by Anonymous something, I don't know. I honestly don't know anything about this book, so I'll be going into it pretty much blind. And I bought this forever ago on Thrift Books. And then I have a very short book. This is The Metamorphosis and Other Stories by Franz Kafka. This is actually a book that my husband read in college. I actually read The Trial by Kafka in college, and he ended up reading this one for different gen ed classes, and he said that he really enjoyed this, so I figured why not, you know, quick read. Font's pretty small though. we'll see how that goes. And then from Ian Reid, this is I'm Thinking of Ending Things. This is a Netflix movie or show, I don't remember which. I'll be honest, when I got this book, I bought it also on thrift books forever ago. I honestly thought it was more about self-unaliving, but apparently that's not what it's about. Finally gonna read that. And from Julie Murphy, I have If the Shoe Fits. I did not buy this at Target. I bought this on Book Outlet. I'm gonna guess that this is more like a Cinderella-y book. So it sounds interesting. I don't know too much about it. I didn't read the back of this. I have read Julie Murphy before. I've read her books that she did with Sierra Simone for the Christmas one, so I'm excited to read just a standalone by her. And from Johnny Compton, I have The Spite House. This just seems like a nice quick little horror read. I like anything that with like a house of horrors, scary house, haunted house, anything like that I'm into, so I'm super excited to start that one. And I thought this one would be a fun book to add to this. This is In These Hollow Halls. It's a dark academia anthology that just has several authors in here and short stories, so I figured, you know, I can take the time, read a short story, like maybe one a day, and get through this book hopefully relatively quickly. But yeah, dark academia short stories, what's not to love? So now that I talked about books forever, it's time for me to wrap up this video. Let me know if you've read any of these books, what your thoughts on them are. Let me know what books you're looking forward to the most this summer, because I'm on a book buying ban, so I'm just gonna make a list of books I want to buy when the ban is then lifted. I think that's everything. If you want, you can follow me on my other socials. I'm artistryxashh everywhere, and if you want more book content, I am devouring bookishly on TikTok and Instagram. Don't forget to give this video a like. I like to see the thumbs up. It helps me know that you like my content. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I think that's everything. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an amazing day or night whenever you're seeing this, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.
Turn this life into something that you can never own. So fight and fight.